Hello everyone, welcome back for another edition of Virtual Meditations. I'm your instructor Mike. I'm happy to have you with me this evening. Tonight's practice, we're going to be doing something called Nadi Shodhana, which translates as alternate nostril breathing. So we're going to be practicing a very common breathing technique, actually probably one of the most practiced techniques that I can even think of when it comes to meditation. And the idea behind this is to breathe out of our nostrils in a certain pattern, and I'll explain that as we go along. But the reason why we're doing this is to help balance our energetic system. Nadi of the Nadi Shodhana technique stands for little rivers, which we kind of imagine as our energetic system, right? Our energetic system runs in these little rivers that all connect to certain parts of the body. And Shodhana means purification. So we're actually intending on purifying these and getting all that negative energy out. I don't know how esoteric you are, but if we are practicing and just looking academically at the tradition of yoga and this particular practice, that's what it's all about. It's about purifying our energetic systems. And we do it with a certain breathing technique. But we channel the energy between two specific, they call them, again, the nadis, but they also call them meridians in Taoism. There's these energetic channels, three major ones that run up your spine. There's one that's called Sushumna, which is directly up the middle, but then there's also the Ida in Pingala. The Pingala is, for men, for some reason, it's said to end at your right nostril, begin down on the bottom of the spine. Ida ends on the left. They say it's flip-flopped for men and women. I, to be honest with you, have not really experienced too many people who find it universally one way or the other. I found it more like a 60-40 split, where for 60% of men, Bengala's on the right, 40% is on the left, vice versa for ladies. But let's not get too deep into that, because we could go on that topic all night. But the idea behind this is we're breathing through, inhaling through one particular channel, through one particular nostril, exhaling out the other, and then inhaling through that one we just exhaled through and exhaling out the one that we originally started with. So it's like this whole balance, and the Ida and Pingala, they run up your spine almost like a double helix, if you can imagine like the DNA symbol, and that's essentially what it looks like if we're trying to put a visualization to it. But the idea behind this is to help balance the Sushumna Nadi, the main energetic channel where the life runs through you. Again, that's directly up the spine. And again, how we're doing this, we're actually going to be using our fingers to make this take place. So we'll get into more detail about this, but essentially what you're going to do, you're going to block off one nostril, you inhale through it, then you're going to switch and exhale through the other. Inhale, switch, exhale. So try to follow my fingers here. It actually kind of looks like a triangular pattern if you're visualizing this as well. Some people learn a little bit better that way. But again, I'll go into more detail about that as we go on. Before we get into meditating, we better stretch out. So let's make sure that we loosen up the hips and spine. Go ahead and lay on your back if you're not already doing so. If you got your yoga mat, lay on it. If you don't, go ahead and grab one. Or if you just want to lay on your carpet, that's fine too. But I want you to lay down, cradle the legs a little bit. Make some circles, rock up and down, just go every direction you could think of. Help to wake up the back a little bit, wake up the hips. You know, I say this all the time, but it's miserable to meditate if you haven't stretched out. A lot of people are going to deal with either lower back pain or upper back pain or some kind of physical experience like pain that's going to distract them from the meditation. So we want to be able to alleviate as much of that physical pain as we can so that we can focus on the technique and we can feel more of the energetic side of things instead of just the physical side. Let's start it off and just do a forward bend. Whatever you want to do, I'm going to give you a couple of options, but the first one I'm showing right now is called butterfly pose. You have the soles of the feet brought together in front of you. You fall around in the pose as best as you can, but don't worry about getting the head to the feet. You know, it's not the point of the stretch, so just allow gravity to work you into it. Inner thighs and back, but if you're doing this and you say it's bothering your knees or your hips, anything that's localized around that, I'd actually recommend doing dragonfly pose, where you spread out your legs, you lean forward, and you get your inner thighs, you get your back, you also get a bonus hamstring stretch. So it's going to be really up to you. Now, I don't know if you noticed it, but sometimes I'll move my neck around to help break up some stiffness, just to make things a little bit easier for me. Because you don't want to have to go through any stiff kind of pain too when you're doing any kind of yoga pose. So if you're doing a forward bend and you notice your neck getting stiff, just feel free to move it, feel free to adjust it, and then come back into the pose. We're going to hold these probably for about 2.5 minutes, nothing too crazy. And then after we've done that, we'll go over some seated postures, and then we'll do our meditation. But just remember to breathe here. This is a good opportunity to start practicing belly breathing, which is actually what I'm going to have you do anyway, aside from the alternate nostril breathing. But when we're breathing itself, I want you to do the belly breathing technique, where you're low into your diaphragm. And if you want to double check it now, place a hand on your stomach, and on your inhales, you should feel it come out. And on your exhales, you should feel it come in. Again, right below the belly button, you should be feeling this kind of movement. Go ahead and take a few deep breaths, and when you're ready, just use your hands. Slowly push yourself out, lean back, lay down, take your time getting there. We're going to take at least a minute to relax here, and then we'll get into a back bend, and then we'll do our meditation. We're going to do our back bend, Sphinx pose. It's going to be the option where you lay on your stomach, you prop up onto your forearms and your elbows, and here's your pose. It's not a stretch or anything. You should just feel this dull pressure right here in your lower back, the lumbar spine. So it should be. If it feels kind of sharp, just lower down from it. Don't push through the sharpness, because that's not going to be therapeutic for you. But this is definitely one that we have to do if we want to make sure that we're able to sit up straight. Our spines rely on this particular curve that we're working in our lower back. And for those who do suffer from lower back pain, this should be a pose you do on a regular basis, aside from just preparing your spine for meditation. It's something that I would recommend you always be consistent with. There's two poses I would always recommend you do every day, and we're doing them. A forward bend and a back bend. What you do with your legs is irrelevant for the forward bend, as long as you're bending it forward and with the spine, and then you do your back bend. And this is routinely what you need every single day. But I refuse to do any amount of meditation unless I do these stretches to prepare my spine. Otherwise, I can't focus because I feel back pain, and we don't want to feel that, right? Go ahead and take a few deep breaths. When you're ready, there's your time. Just real slow. Lay on your stomach. Take your time here. Short breather. After a back bend, it's going to feel nice to do a gentle forward bend. So child's pose is usually going to be your best option. But you could always lay on your back and cradle the legs, because that's actually the inversion of your child's pose. About ready to enter into the meditation. But before we do that, I want to make sure I go over some of the seated postures that you can always be in. When I'm sitting right now, this is called Siddhasana, which means cross-legged. It's one of the most standard, universal meditation postures out there. If this aggravates any part of your body, most of the time it's going to be the lower back. You may want to consider doing Seiza, which is where you actually sit on your feet. If you have a yoga block, this is definitely where this could come into play, or even like some pillows. Pillows are a wonderful prop to use right now, where you just take that pillow or the block and just literally sit on it. Give yourself a little bit of cushion. Because for some people this really aggravates the knees, right? Bending them quite like this and literally sitting on the feet. For some people it's just out of the question. So if that's you, you're probably going to want to use a block if you're going to attempt this particular position. Those are your two choices. But I would also say, if you're doing either of these and you just can't get past the physical pain, just lay down. I would rather you lay down and avoid that kind of pain and do your best to practice this. But after a while, once you've done more of the yin practice to stretch out your hips and spine, continue to sit up straight. Even if it's only for 5 minutes at a time, that's better than nothing, right? And before you know it, that 5 minutes will turn into 10, 15. Before you know it, you're sitting upright for 30 minutes to an hour. But again, we'll get there when we get there. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. So let me cover the technique one more time. Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. What we're going to do, again, we're going to use our fingers to assist here. We're going to breathe through specific nostrils to balance out the energetic system. So we'll start with the left side. So that means you're going to close off the right nostril. You'll inhale through the left and switch. You'll close off the left, exhale through the right. Inhale through the right, close it, exhale through the left. Inhale through the left, exhale through the right. Inhale through the right, exhale through the left. Right, and you're gonna keep doing this pattern probably for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to take a minute or two just to really observe the actual effects. This particular technique, though, I do want to make this known. If you are really, really struggling to breathe because your nostrils are closed up, just, again, do the best you can, but if it gets overwhelming, I would just say just don't do the technique and just focus more on the belly breathing aspect of it, just so you can achieve some kind of meditation today. And we want to do our best to focus solely on the breath. If you have thoughts come to mind, let them go. The moment you catch yourself thinking, let them go, reel yourself back in to the meditation, because that right there is the whole point. That is a victory in meditation. When you catch that mind wandering, right, you catch it and you bring it right back to the technique that you're doing. You're going to be practicing the rest of your life on doing that. But the more we do it, the easier it is, the less likely our mind will be to wander. So you're in your seated position. I'd recommend leaning forward and then working your way back to your upright position, and then close the eyes. Let's start this by belly breathing, right? Low into your diaphragm. Feel that stomach expand on your inhales. It will contract on the exhale. Let's just do this again for about a minute just to get us into the meditation. Ready to begin our meditation. And hopefully after a few minutes of this, you should start to feel the balance between the energetic sides of the body, but also feel physical balance in your nostrils. Take a note right now. And just before we even do this, see which one is more open. For me, it's my left side right now, and maybe it's the same for you, maybe not. This switches throughout the course of the day. Every hour to 3 hours, your nostrils will switch, and depending on the state of activity you're doing, it will go from the left to the right, right to the left, and just does this over and over. If we are sick, this exchange happens less frequently, more like 6 to 8 hours it will switch. Something to just take a note of throughout this. Maybe during the actual practice you can feel the balance between the two nostrils. We'll start off by breathing into the left nostril. So you'll close off the right. Inhale left, exhale right. Inhale right, exhale left. Inhale left, exhale right. Inhale right, exhale left. A few more times. Inhale left, exhale right. Inhale right, exhale left. And one more time together. Inhale left, exhale right. Inhale right, and exhale left. And now at your own pace. Don't feel obligated to take the deepest breath possible. Just have a natural rhythm, whatever feels comfortable. make sure when you are finishing up that you finalize it with exhaling through your left nostril. You always want to end it with the one that you started with to complete a cycle. And once you've done this, just take a minute and observe the effects that have taken place through the meditation. Go ahead and take a few deep breaths. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome back. Some things that I wanted to mention more about this particular technique. Again, we did it for a certain amount of time. And I only do this when I'm teaching to budget and a lot for the time that we're spending in this. If you're doing this on your own, at your house, feel free to do this with a certain amount. Maybe you do 50 of these cycles, and just so we all know, one complete cycle is inhaling through the left, exhaling through the right, inhaling through the right, exhaling through the left. That's one cycle. So maybe you do, again, 50. Some people will do more, some people will do less. But just so we know, when you're on your own, you practice this however you feel like you need to, and only stop when you feel like you've had enough of this. But with that, I want to thank you for watching and sharing your practice with me. It's been my pleasure. Namaste.